AEW wrestler Kota Ibushi was stretchered out of last night's AEW Collision TV taping, with talk backstage suggesting that the former New Japan Pro Wrestling star has suffered a broken femur. We got more details on that. Plus, Santos Escobar, once thought to be leaving WWE, has now re-signed with the company after his contract expired and he became a free agent. Reports are that he signed with WWE on a big money deal. All the details on this and much more in this news update. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. Let's begin with some not good news when it comes to AEW's Kota Ibushi, once again having difficulties with injury. Now, the special homecoming edition of AEW Collision was filmed on October 8th at the unofficial home of All Elite Wrestling, Daily's Place in Jacksonville, Florida. But it seems that not everyone left the taping at 100%, as Kota Ibushi has reportedly suffered an injury. Fightful's Sean Ross Sapp tweeted, quote, Kota Ibushi sustained an injury at tonight's AEW Collision TV tapings. Another post from Mr. Jacob Cohen on social media said, quote, Kota Ibushi is being stretchered out. From a picture a friend had just sent, it appears Kota Ibushi injured his right leg. Now, according to J.J. Williams of the Wrestling Observer, who was in attendance at the show, Ibushi was wrestling Josh Alexander of the Don Callis family when he slipped off the top rope after his leg gave out and fell to the outside. Upon landing, Ibushi looked to have seriously injured his leg and was unable to continue the match after being checked on by AEW's medical team at ringside, with Alexander winning the bout via countout. After the match was over, Ibushi's best friend Kenny Omega came out to make the save as the Don Callis family looked to injure Ibushi further before the house lights were lowered and Ibushi was stretchered out of the ringside area. Now, in terms of more details as to actually what the injury is, as to what he suffered at the show, we've got more details on that as well. Now, it had been reported that the former IWGP World Heavyweight Champion was taken to a local hospital shortly after being stretchered out of the arena, and PW Insider is reporting that the talk backstage within AEW is that Ibushi suffered a broken femur. At the very least, the injury will keep the Golden Star out of action for several months. Now, Ibushi has suffered from a multitude of injuries since he sustained a serious shoulder injury in the G1 Climax 31 final back in 2021. Ibushi spent 18 months out of action as a result of that injury, and he was out of action for several months in 2024 after wrestling with an already broken ankle and hand for Pro Wrestling Noah, worsening the injuries in the process. Now, Ibushi made his return to AEW in June of this year and signed a new 2-year contract with the promotion in August. Of course, we get any more details on his recovery from injury, the nature of it, surgery, etc. We'll let you know in a future video. Now, a massive story here about the future of Santos Escobar in WWE. Now, Santos Escobar's exit from WWE ended up being very brief, as the former NXT Cruiserweight Champion has put pen to paper on a new contract with the company. Now, if you weren't aware, Escobar actually exited WWE on Tuesday following the expiration of his contract, being moved to the alumni section of the WWE roster on the company's website. Now, Escobar reportedly turned down a new contract offer from WWE due to concerns about how he would be used in the company. It had been reported that they had offered more money, he had declined it, and it was really creative differences that led to his exit. Now, those concerns appear to have been placated, however, as PW Insider broke the news yesterday that Escobar and WWE came to terms on a new deal just hours after his exit from the company. WWE management considered Escobar's concerns around creative and made him a, quote, sizably larger offer, end quote, than their previous offers. Escobar then agreed to terms with the company. Brian Alvarez of the Wrestling Observer has also noted that Escobar received a very big money deal with a lot of perks. The exact nature of said perks is unknown, however. Now, Escobar has been part of WWE since signing with the company in August of 2019. He's not been featured on television in recent months, with the company expecting him to leave when his deal expired. However, that's now not the case. Speaking of creative, there look to be creative changes coming to WWE Friday Night SmackDown. Paul Triple H Levesque's rise to power in WWE's creative department resulted in a massive internal overhaul of old McMahon-era traditions, but even with Levesque's ascension to Chief Creative Officer now years in the rearview mirror, it seems the locker room is still being restructured. According to Body Slam, WWE SmackDown will be onboarding an undisclosed amount of new writers in anticipation for more enticing storylines to come in 2026. WWE is bringing new faces to the Blue Brand's writing team, with Road Dogg reported to remain the co-captain of SmackDown's creative vessel, alongside co-head writer John Swikata. These reported additions are intended to make the show, quote, more enjoyable in the near future, with Body Slam's report stating that, quote, more enticing storylines, end quote, will come to SmackDown in 2026. Now, the change comes after WWE and TKO reportedly noticed fans' discontent with a majority of the product in 2025, with SmackDown often being at the brunt end of audience criticism. WWE and TKO are reportedly aware of the need to boost their show's quality heading into 2026, despite record profits in 2025. These changes to SmackDown are presumably a move to improve the quality of the product. Despite reported hopes for change, however, fans remain skeptical. Most fans took to Body Slam's Patreon and Reddit posts to express their discontent with Road Dogg specifically, with most naming him as the biggest detriment to SmackDown. Also, others have blamed Levesque for SmackDown's Road Dogg problem, accusing him of keeping Road Dogg on WWE's creative team out of sentimental connections. As of this recording, there are no plans to remove any of the current writers from their senior positions on the SmackDown creative team. Now let's go over to TNA Wrestling here, and a big update when it comes to their impending new TV deal. Now, the subject of a new television deal for TNA Wrestling has come up as the promotion's president, Carlos Silva, has been making the media rounds ahead of Bound for Glory. One of his stops was on Jonathan Coachman's Off the Rope show, and that subject was brought up again. Silva provided an update and stated that he had a call on October 6th, and they've been meeting with lawyers to piece the deal together. He feels they'll be on a new platform in 2026. He said, quote, "It's the same place we were last week. I sort of made some statements on a couple of platforms that we are literally every single day. In fact, I had a call on Monday and we were working with lawyers to get the deal together. So I feel good about it. It's moving forward and we're going to get a deal done and we're going to be on a new platform in 2026. Like everything, can't really talk about it yet until the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, but I feel really good about it. I'm super excited about the partnership and where it's going to take TNA, so I would just say stay tuned. Give me a little bit of time, but it's October 8th today and 2026 isn't far off, so I think something's going to be in the books very soon." Now, in terms of possible TNA wrestlers moving to WWE, Carlos Silva said that's something that he's actually willing to help with. Now, this again is very interesting. On the same interview with Jonathan Coachman, the focus of chat was the partnership between WWE and TNA, and the conversation came up about TNA talents possibly making the jump to WWE, something we've seen already with the likes of Jordan Grace, possibly Joe Hendry soon, and others. Now, Silva stated by beginning to speak about retaining talent, saying that TNA not being a feeding ground and making sure it becomes a destination. He stated that he's focused on retaining those who have brand names and equity backstage amongst the talent roster, because that is how younger talents like Leon Slater are encouraged to join the promotion. He knows there will be younger talents who may have an interest in joining WWE, and if that is the case, he'll help them get there. Silva added that he knows those talents would continue supporting TNA and might come back in the future. He said, quote, "Yeah, I think it's both. I think it's a little bit of both. You've got to extend and protect the talent that is foundational. I mean, one of the guys on the line here with us is Nick Nemeth. I mean, Nick brings foundational talent, history to TNA. Obviously, the Hardys do it and showed that last night. A bunch of the other guys in the ring yesterday as well. I mean, whether it's Frankie Kazarian, Moose, you could continue to list them. They're super important because they're recognized, they have brands, they have fans that follow them, know their walkouts and celebrate with them. And those guys and gals are so important because they help to bring along talent like Leon Slater Lita, and a bunch of others. That list goes on, but as I see what the Hardys have done with Leon and the way they talk to him, and being an athlete myself and really knowing and remembering my coaches that took care of me, I see the same sort of backstage stuff when it comes out of Nick and the Hardys and Matt Cardona and Frankie and so many, and they all listen. They're dialed in when they get that feedback from those athletes that have been in the ring for so long. It's so important, so I think we've got to be cultivating both sides. TNA is an interesting platform because we can bring and provide a new platform for legends that have already been in the game for 10 and 15 years plus. But then we can also help bring back the young talent. Look, is that talent at times going to leave? Is that talent want to go to WWE if they're younger talent? They are, and I've said it in our Nick knows this, I'll be the person that will help them as well. If that's the path, that is great. I also know that they're going to continue to support TNA and maybe come back to TNA someday to continue creating this engine, and that's how we're going to continue to operate. Now, going back over to AEW here, and an update on AEW broadcaster Taz. After calling Tuesday's Title Tuesday edition of AEW Dynamite, Taz announced on social media that he'll be temporarily stepping away from the commentary desk as he takes care of his health. The former ECW World Heavyweight Champion stated on X that he'll soon undergo a total shoulder replacement surgery and that he'll be off for some time. Taz assured fans of his eventual return, however, ending his message by saying that he'd see everyone soon. Now, around this time last year, Taz took a leave of absence to have knee replacement surgery. He was written off TV with an attack angle, setting up a storyline between Taz's son Hook and the attackers, eventually revealed to be Christian Cage and the Patriarchy. Taz made his return to the company before the end of 2024, making an appearance at the Hammerstein Ballroom in his hometown of New York City. Now, no angle was used to cover for Taz's absence this time around, and it's not clear how long he'll be out. The company doesn't have any New York City dates currently scheduled through the end of this year, but they will be in the area for AEW Full Gear that's taking place in Newark, New Jersey, and there have been rumors and rumblings about possibly a Hammerstein Ballroom residency at the end of the year, but that's yet to be officially announced. Now, if you're fans of The New Day, good, they're sticking around in WWE. Now, this is quite interesting. We'll begin with Xavier Woods. Fightful Select reported that they learned that New Day member Xavier Woods was recently in a negotiation period with WWE that resulted in him signing a multi-year extension to remain with the company. His contract would have been up in September of 2025, but the two sides were able to come to terms on a deal. Those that Fightful spoke to said that the deal actually came down to the wire and was actually only finalized in September. Woods, of course, is a former King of the Ring winner and considered one of the greatest tag team wrestlers in WWE history. He's also instrumental in the Up, Up, Down, Down brand, which is nearing 2.5 million subscribers on YouTube. Now, another big update comes from Kofi Kingston. Now, as I mentioned, it was reported first by Fightful Select's Sean Ross Sapp that Xavier Woods had re-signed with the company on a multi-year deal. And Xavier Woods actually publicly confirmed the report. And then Fightful said they actually found out more about Kingston. Fightful Select are reporting they have been told that Kofi Kingston re-signed with WWE at some point earlier this year. WWE sources indicated that they were of the belief that the deal would be a 5-year contract, taking him into 2030 when he'll be nearly 49 years of age. Kingston is a former WWE champion and also one of the greatest tag team wrestlers in WWE history. As one can imagine, he's among the most respected locker room presences in pro wrestling, considering his tenure with WWE dates back to the mid-2000s. Now, some big names advertised for an NXT live event tour, beginning with the Motor City Machine Guns and DIY. WWE's NXT brand is set to hit the road with a string of shows outside of its home base in Florida. The dates are as follows: October 9th in Columbus, Ohio, October 10th in Detroit, Michigan, and October 11th in Cleveland, Ohio. Shawn Michaels announced some of the additions from the main roster to the house show tour. He stated that DIY's Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa will be part of the entire loop, and the Motor City Machine Guns, Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin, are going to be part of the Detroit show. In addition to that, the NXT North American champion Ethan Page will be defending his title on all 3 nights. Interestingly, Tony D'Angelo is also being advertised for the tour. D'Angelo has not been on NXT television since late July. He was approached by a shadowy figure, and then the camera feed cut out. Some people had assumed he was getting called up to the main roster. It had been reported by Dave Meltzer recently that he had asked for requested time off that was being granted, but it looks like he's going to be part of this house show tour with NXT. Now we know we're getting the Hardys versus Team 3D one final time at Bound for Glory, but the stakes have now even been raised even higher. The Hardy Boys captured the NXT Tag Team titles at WWE NXT vs TNA Showdown, defeating NXT's Dark States. With more gold in their possession, TNA Wrestling announced that the Hardys will defend the NXT Tag Team titles, along with the TNA World Tag Team Championships, against Team 3D in a tables match at TNA Bound for Glory. The bout was previously announced as just being for the TNA Tag Team titles, but as I mentioned, the stakes have now been raised even further for their final clash. Mercedes Moné appears on a CMLL broadcast. Mercedes Moné appeared on CMLL Informer, and multiple announcements were made for the rest of October and beginning of November. Julio Cesar Rivera hosted the October 8th episode of CMLL Informer. The show featured multiple announcements. One of said announcements was that the October 17th and October 24th edition of Venen's E-Spectacular on Triller TV. It was also announced that the October 17th show, headlined by Mercedes Moné versus Persephone, will be an all-woman show. Speaking of the CEO, Moné made an appearance on the end of CMLL Informer. She called out Persephone ahead of their match on the 17th of October. Now, the Mercedes Moné news doesn't end there. We spoke about this previously. She'd been announced for this indie show in Denmark, and I said at the time that she'd likely be challenging for a title. It's now been confirmed. The reigning AEW TBS champion, Mercedes Moné, is scheduled to be in action for the Body Slam Wrestling promotion in Denmark. It has been revealed she'll be challenging for the promotion's Women's Championship when she meets the champion Alice Inc. on October 10th. So another title possibly being added to Moné's collection there. Of course, Moné has that CMLL Women's World title defense coming up on October 17th. She'll be defending the title against Persephone at CMLL's Arena Mexico show. She's also in possession of a bunch of other titles, including the likes of Discovery Wrestling, EWA Women's, Rev Pro Undisputed British Women's Championship, the TBS Championship, the Owen Hart Foundation Women's Tournament, and more. So it looks like more titles could be added at this show. And finally, more matches have been announced for next week's episode of WWE NXT on the CW. Blake Monroe will battle Zarya on the October 14th episode of WWE NXT. The bout was confirmed on social media. Monroe confronted NXT Women's North American Champion Sol Ruka at WWE NXT vs TNA Showdown that took place this past Tuesday. But there you go, guys. Latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.